I actually ended up leaving the house and just picking up my camera, and I've never had another job ever since. They made me an offer with promises of giving away like almost $6 million of my app for free. They never did. Now that AI is here, I've now launched the world's first all AI social platform.
This is ethical. This is how AI is supposed to work. It helps us. It makes us better. So your journey from being kicked out of your home at 17 to building a multi-million-dollar digital empire, I think is truly inspiring. Can you share a pivotal moment that turned your life around and set you on this path of where you're successful now?
Yeah, absolutely. Basically, I think since I was a kid, really, and like you said, my dad, he was a sheet metal contractor and Vietnam vet, had no idea that you could possibly have a job being a photographer. So, and that was a point in my life where I really it was my dream basically to become a photographer. And so that's what I did. And I actually ended up leaving the house and just picking up my camera. And I've never had another job ever since, really. I've really just been a fashion advertising celebrity photographer up until about 9 years ago. I formed a tech company that services photographers and videographers initially. Yeah, so that was a really pivotal moment for me as far as just kind of move out of the house, went down to Miami, had crazy time. And then from there, I ended up going to photography school for a little bit and just starting my career, just, fully knowing that I wanted to be a photographer. And I really loved this journey.
Yeah, I know you've had celebrities, you've been featured on GQ and a ton of magazines. What led you to that point? How did you get because photography is so, it's so brutal to the sense of how did you get that break going from here I am, I moved to Miami to next thing you know, I'm the top celebrities on photography.
I kind of lucked out because I grew up in Florida and I was a surf rat, surfing, skating, and photography. And I met my wife actually when she was on spring break, and I chased her up to Atlanta, Georgia. I'd never been to Atlanta. I'd never lived anywhere without waves, right? So I moved to Atlanta. I ended up moving there for 10 years. And so I was landlocked. So I had nothing else to do other than photography. But my big break really came from, there was a modeling agency in Atlanta back in the day called Arlene Wilson. And so a friend of mine, I was shooting him, and I'd go into the agency and I noticed that their portfolios were really like all over. They're getting calls in to send portfolios on models. And I'm like, how about if I organize this for you guys? So I just, that was like kind of my big break actually. I went in, I just made friends with the agents, I helped them out. And next thing you know, they're like, hey, by the way, we have a model who needs to be tested. Can you shoot her for a portfolio? Like, yeah, absolutely. That was kind of like my big break actually, is shooting models. And the next thing you know, the clients start seeing you work and it kind of progresses into that.
That's so awesome because I think a lot of people, especially when it comes to making yourself valuable, like there's a lot of, if you can intern for free, create a ton of value. Don't come in expecting, well, here, I want to be a celebrity photographer. What do you have for me? Instead, you just came in and started just serving right off the bat.
Absolutely. Yeah. In every way in life, really, it's about service and just having the faith in, doing, loving what you do. That's the key.
And I want to kind of shift into, because there is a ton of artists that are out there, and there's a concern with this, and I know you're an expert in this, with this AI-driven world that's happening. We're a data podcast. This is what we talk about AI constantly. Some artists fear AI, and you're looking like, will this make my skill obsolete? I can, do just about anything with AI. What's the risk that AI could diminish the value of human creativity? And what do you believe that will elevate it?
Oh gosh. Okay. So I'm on the side of like, it's a miracle what's happening and what we're able to do. So I really love technology. Going back, actually, I had, when the digital camera first came out, there were a lot of creators, photographers who were like, digital will never be as good as film. It'll never be as saturated. And I just dove straight into digital. I was like, got the first camera I could. I actually had the first billboard in Times Square shot with the digital camera printed in time. So
that's really awesome.
Like kind of like love the technical aspects of photography. So now that AI is here, gosh, what do you even say about it? Because I'm doing quite a bit of video too. So I'm taking even past shots from decades and able to kind of bring those to life through AI. And actually I'm working with Ellen Von Unwerth right now. We just got off the call with her studio manager a couple of days ago. And so it's this big question. What do we do? Do we embrace this? Is it like a digital thing? Like where if we don't embrace this, we're going to be left behind? And the answer is yes. Obviously, as a photographer or videographer, if you're filming things that are relevant, that like are, live events or whatever it might be, that will always be there. But right now, I'm also a filmmaker, and I have a concept for a film that I want to do that without AI probably could have never gotten this done. So now for me, it's really exciting to see what's possible and what we can do with AI, and the sky's the limit. The other thing I want to talk to photographers about is opportunities also for shooting stills and then enmeshing it with the AI and meshing it with the video. So there's kind of like a cross-platform thing that's happening as well. And basically, I think it's going to be an amazing tool for creators.
Yeah, and I know I want to get into Plotverse, and we're gonna have the links in the show notes on that, and we'll get into that. But there was something that happened to you that was pivotal. I mean, everybody's looking, it's like, wow, a successful celebrity, photographer in all these magazines in Times Square. There was something that amazing happened to you, and then next thing you know, it's horrific. And that is a large corporation. We talk about what happens a lot of times in these large tech companies when everything's just ROI focused or shareholder, the quarter by quarter by quarter. So Apple eventually, I'm going to use this word, effed your app idea. How did that happen? A negative experience? I know there's some legal things, you can't talk too much about it, and then how did that negative experience turn into a positive for Plotverse?
Good question. So in 2013, I did a TED Talks entitled "The Future of Photography," and I have this it's 132-page keynote of all the things that I saw were coming, and I ended up doing one of the ideas, and producing it. We went live in beta actually, and did like $230,000 in the first 2 weeks as a web app in beta. So it blew up. We got the attention of Apple. Apple calls us, and actually they said, what you developed here is going to change photography as we know it. And I'm like, yeah, I know it is going to. And so they said, okay, can't really say so much, but yeah, I ended up working to produce an iOS app, went to #1 in the App Store. And I actually signed a deal with them where we did a giveaway for the release of the iPhone 10. So the iPhone 10, the main app promoting it was my Plotagraph app. And that is the photo to video technology of shifting of the pixels. Yeah, so they made me an offer at some point that was really a lowball offer, with promises of giving away like almost $6 million of my app for free with an exchange of promoting me in the App Store. They never did. After they did the giveaway, like I never recovered actually. So, and then there was another app that happened to literally produce exactly, I don't know how they figured it out. I don't know how they got the code so quickly to do this, but they've now done hundreds of millions of dollars of sales with my exact app, with actually a cheaper version of my app. But
yeah, we heard stories of this over and over and over again. Go ahead.
But to say what's positive that came from it is just hanging on for all of these years. I took the majority of, we've done about $8 million in sales with this app, which I'm very proud of. And I created a social platform. So for me, Instagram, TikTok, it's just not a serious place for serious artists. So I created a platform for artists to be able to monetize as well. And it's beautiful, and I'm really proud of it. So what's come of this is just all my learning to create this. And now that AI is here, I've now launched the world's first all AI social platform. So none of this probably would have happened if I would have cashed it 5 years ago. And what I've learned about what's happening with AI. So it's, I had no regrets. I'm really excited for the future, and it's disheartening though that these companies will do this.
This is age old, the making a profit off of an artist over and over, whatever industry it may be in. Whenever an artist comes out, and creates work, there's always this, boogeyman that's behind them trying to monetize and screw over the artist. And that's what I want you to talk about Plotverse. I know you're at the forefront of the AI-driven content creation. What's the sneak peek, tools, features? What's so great about Plotverse?
Okay, so I have 5 patents on pixel shifting, and those happen to go away through the courts somehow. But last Tuesday, I got my patent back. So it's just been this, for all these legalities, all I wanted to do is take pretty pictures when I was a kid. I wanted to create beauty, and I see all these lessons in corporate espionage and crazy things happening. So, I mean, it is what it is. It's made me, smarter and brighter in some ways. But now what I've learned is now through my pixel shifting patent, and this is why, like I said, I have an all AI platform, is I'm able to shift pixels within an image or video for you to prove and know that that's your image. Okay. So I'm really passionate for help monetize. And so as NFTs came up a few years ago, it's actually unfortunate what happened with NFTs because it's a really great idea. It's just, even at the time, I was actually a little bit disappointed as far as like the kind of content that they were releasing. I really wish that the fine art could have been in the forefront even more earlier on. Now, that's what's coming back actually is AI, even with AI. So you're able to actually really prove that it's yours, so it can't be stolen. And so that's one of the things that we've been working on.
Yeah, I love that. Has there been a case where Plotverse was used in a way that surprised you? Because, of course, in the tech world, I'm thinking all kinds of things of ways that you could use this. But is there something that you've thought of, like outside of art, education, therapy, in the medical section, x-rays, all those different things?
Actually, what's interesting, I've had so many people tell me that it saved their life. Like, who would have ever thought? Like people in, whether it's depression or like many stories of people being in the hospital bed. And our iPad version, I mean, there was a better version on Apple, and there are too, right? But people would say, I was in bed for months and literally addicted to, they would just animate. And they said, I literally was like, they leave being pros at it actually, but it really helped them create and help them spend the time. And who would have ever thought that, and ways that I've seen the app used, like I've been to electronic music shows where the whole theme of all the visuals are plotographed. So, and I know it's my app, like the whole thing is like the shifting of the pixels. It's kind of a psychedelic sort of look, and it can be. And then sometimes I'll see, like I'll be on Instagram or Facebook and I'll be like, whoa, that's really cool. And then I'll check the hashtags and it's Plotverse. I'm like, sometimes I don't even know you do that. Well, I didn't even think to do that, So it's just like an idea and people just kind of take it and multiply it. It's really cool.
Yeah, I love that. And you've described it as the world's first social AI platform, and it's emphasizing community without algorithms. What does this approach foster, and how does it create a different, like we'll use Instagram, for instance, a different kind of creative environment compared to the traditional platforms?
Well, basically, I've designed the profile pages to be like your website. So they're fully customizable, like unlike the other platforms where if an artist were to post something like 6 months ago or even a series 6 months ago, Instagram will let you like pin a couple things to the top. But the way that I've designed it is you actually have full portfolios, full collections that you dictate what goes first, what's up front, with the order that it goes in. And the chronological order is secondary. It's there, but it's secondary. So you get to really kind of like show, your work in its best light. Also, the way that we've set it up is we have multiple collections. So an artist isn't stuck with just one look. So whether you're a photographer or even an AI artist, a lot of AI artists are new. So they'll be on these different platforms and they'll be creating different looks. And all of a sudden one thing goes viral. Now they're stuck for the next couple of years just doing that one look and they can't modify it so much. But on our platform, you can have 10 different categories. You can have as many looks as you want, which now helps the artist monetize even more because when an agency or brand wants to hire them for something, they don't have just that one look. They have multiple. They really have more of a depth to their work.
Oh, that makes sense. You have a show, The Why of AI, and it aims to introduce and inspire artists to create and share using AI. What are some common misconceptions about AI, especially in art, that you address, and how do you help artists overcome them?
I'd say the biggest misconception is people thinking that it's just easy and the computer's doing everything. I mean, when it first came out, I kind of thought similar, but as you get going with it, you're like, wow, the art of prompting itself. And depending on the model that you're working with, it's a collaboration. It's a collaboration between the computer and how you're prompting and what you're creating. And then going to video, it's the same thing. It is an art in itself and it's amazing. Right now, what's happening is a lot of the AI models for video are quite expensive. It's kind of a little bit price pointed out of most people's kind of like hobby sort of pricing. So that's one of the things that we're working on as well is helping creators, get models that are a little bit cheaper to use and a little bit more open source models as well.
Yeah, no, that makes sense because I think a lot of, like you just mentioned prompting, and that's so interesting. because that in and of itself is work, which we believe data is people's work, and that's creativity. That should be monetized. Even the prompt. If the prompt creates an amazing piece of art, that prompt should be monetized.
Right, exactly. What's interesting, when I was on the phone the other day with Ellen von Unwerth's studio manager, she's like, we're worried that Ellen's work from the past several decades is going to be digitized and models being made of her photography. And I said, that is going to happen. Unfortunately, that is going to happen. But if you get in front of it and you embrace it,
That's right.
and you create models for yourself that, call it the Ellen von Unwerth or call it the Ansel Adams or whatever it might be model, then the artists are actually able to monetize themselves for that through partnering from companies like mine or other companies that are out there too, to help people create these images. So it really is the Wild West as far as like what's happening. I'm a big nature guy. I'm in Thailand right now, actually. So the other thing I like to say is like fully stuck on your computer or in the studio, whatever it might be, it's like things happen pretty quickly. So it's like I talk a lot about like getting out and about and getting in nature as well. Work with the AI, help you do things faster, and then have a little bit more, quality time in your life with family and nature and these sort of things. That's a big part of what I'm doing on Plotverse. It's not anything like what Zuckerberg's doing on Facebook and Instagram, where they're just trying to keep you locked into that feed and just, swiping and scrolling and that sort of thing. Yeah, well, I was going to mention also like Instagram, for example, monetization wise, I think it's like 7.5% they're paying of the industry to creators. So how is it this guy's like the third richest guy in the world off the backs of all these creators? And then they'll talk about the money that they're spending, that they're paying the creators. You're like, yeah, that's like 2% of the company's something like that. It's great that there's billions of dollars being spent, but it's such a very small, minimal amount. So what we're doing is on our platform is we're taking a significant portion through AI, actually going through with AI and learning what that will be with the advertising coming in, and we share it straight back out to the creators.
That's so awesome. Now, when it comes to, I have I'm not a photographer, but I have that little Ricoh G3 or whatever, and a Fuji, the little cameras for traveling. And they have those recipes or filters or whatever. When it comes to AI doing all that with it, is that part of like, if I wanted to use your work, I pay you for that data or those filters or whatever. And then I don't know, they have that now kind of. What is that looking like, on your platform? Are you looking like even getting into anything like that? As far as like if I take a picture of my girlfriend, can I use Troy's celebrity settings to make that picture, look amazing?
Yes. And actually you could use our tools also to take that photograph and turn it into a video as well in prompting, however it might be. It's just more tools. So if we were to go back to like 100 years ago or back to the 60s or whatever, initially we only had, well, let's go to painters actually. Painters were like, photography is not an art, from drawing, photography. Initially it was black and white, and then color comes along, right? And you get color photographs. Wow, this is interesting. And then what's going to be possibly after that? And then next thing you know, we have a digital chip instead of film. And there were a lot of traditionalists who are saying that's not art, it's all digital. It's just more tools. Now with AI, instead of having like 10 tools, we have millions. Literally, if you can think it, you can create it. And for me, as a creator, that's like a kid in a candy store.
Oh yeah, 100%. And that's the beautiful part, because this is ethical. This is how AI is supposed to work. It helps us. It makes us better. It allows us to be more creative because we can be faster. And the thing, like you said, we can be faster. It's less resistance. Allows us to be able to take the time to go to Thailand and walk around and take beautiful pictures. All of those things are amazing. What do you think will be the most significant technological advancements in the next decade for artists specifically? And if you want to stay in photography, that's fine. But what do you think is going to happen in the next 3, 5, 10 years?
What's happened just in the past 1 year is absolutely mind-blowing. And so for me, when I think about filmmaking, so this is where I have a big interest right now in filmmaking. Instead of having multi-million-dollar budgets in Hollywood, and you have to like go to Hollywood and go under the guidelines as far as what's happening there, both content-wise and how it's being done and all the the things that come with that. now you can create a short film, and soon in 10 years, a full feature film, actually just off of what the ideas that you have in your head. So that's what's really going to happen and as far as art, one thing for me that's really special is showing art on digital displays. So when I invented Plotograph, I was actually quite a bit using digital displays, framed pieces. So you can't even actually tell it's a screen, but all of a sudden you're just like the pixels are moving or shifting, whatever it might be. Things don't have to be stationary anymore. I think that's one of the exciting things that's happening. And in the next 10 years, between whether it's going to be some kind of augmented reality that we're able to view it or just screens themselves, I think it's going to be a combination of both.
Yeah, I was at MoMA in New York, and I saw they have, and it's in the door right when you walk in, there's this huge monster digital board, and it's creating some of the most amazing art. But one of the things that I saw, and I'm not for sure of the where it was in LA, was it Hersblog, or I don't know how to pronounce it, Worth or something, one of the main galleries there. They had a guy that was taking, and you're a surfer, so you'll love this. He was taking all the oceanographic data and then creating art with that in a digital. So, and it's beautiful. It's like super cool and beautiful, but this is something that's always interested me, because we're seeing more and more data visualization, especially when it comes to people being artistic with it. And I'm just talking about graphs and stuff like that, that we see in the old school USA Today. Those were always great, the little color graphs, and they made things, infographs, that made things interesting. But this digital signage that's becoming art, that's allowing us to be able to, I've seen them with suicides, with PTSD, with veterans. Those are things that if somebody creates something like that's huge. Like that's a big piece of art that needs to be, not only pushed out into the world, but it's also educational. It's super educational, like most art is, but it's creating something and bringing something alive. Is that part of what you're trying to bring into this too? Not just photography, not just video, but allow data visualization and some of these things to be out there?
Yes. And what art has always been is what does it make you feel? Like when you look at that piece,
Okay.
how does it inspire you? And up until now, art has mostly been stationary, static. Now, art with the help of digital screens, it can move. It should move. It's more interesting. It holds our interest, So I'm also working with architects and interior designers to have these pieces that actually light the room as well. Because it's this display, you could actually change the piece based on the time of the day and what mood you want for a house interior. So not only is it art, but you can use it as an interior sort of mood for lighting and stuff. It's just so much fun.
Yeah. And then, if somebody creates something like that, they could put it on your platform. And then, the list goes on and on. Like we could come up with a million use cases, of how that's why I'm so excited about this. If people want to know more about how to, let's say they're into photography, they're into data visual, whatever it may be, video, what's the best way? Of course they can download the app, but like, what's the best thing to do when they download the app and start using it? Like, what do you suggest for someone that wants to download it right now?
Well, when you first download it, just go on and see the ease of use. It's just, we don't compress the files so much, so they're really crisp and clear and saturated. And we really celebrate the artist. So you're going to find there's not a lot of copy. And so we kind of hide that unless you want to see it. So it's all about literally just pure, crisp imagery. And what I say is like, go on and find some artists that you really love, start following them, check out their work and get inspired. For us, we don't have the monetization set yet, but that's one of the things that we're working on in the next few months as well, is getting monetization set up for the artists. And even for people going on, up until this point, we've charged for the app. So now we're saying you post on the platform and or like/comment 50 times, and we'll unlock the pro features for you. So we've made it really easy for people, different parts of the world, they can't afford the tools sometimes. So we've made it to where they can go on and just interact and be part of the community and unlock the tools for themselves.
Yeah, I love that, because being able to, and you're in Thailand right now, so you know this, but having that global perspective on art is where it's at. We don't want the homogenized. Sometimes everything we get, is what's funneled to us to these big tech companies, and it's all homogenized, where you using this organic, I believe that what you have is amazing, and Apple knew this, everybody knows this, and it's exciting. And I think it's the future of digital content. I'm excited to have you on, Troy. This has been amazing. I encourage people to download it. How would they follow you? what's the best way for them to learn more about you, maybe see your art? And obviously you're on the platform too. People can see that.
Yep. I'm on the platform at Troy Plota is where you can find me on the Plotverse app, both on Android and on iOS. And so what we're working on right now is our desktop version. And this is where it gets really exciting because we're going to have all of the top AI creation tools. So it's not just about what we have in Plotverse. It's literally, I'm curating the top tools in the world. Like we're going to have Runway, Pika, Playing, Stable Diffusion. We're going to have models obviously that are built into that are being able to use offline as well. And that's really exciting. So we're actually working on a partnership with NVIDIA for the offline models as well. So that's really exciting. And that's coming out in the next.
That's so awesome. Well, thank you, Troy, for being on TCast podcast. I appreciate it. I love what you're doing. This is helpful to humanity. It's ethical, and it's putting creators first. And that's what we need to do. So I appreciate your work and your artistry.
Awesome. Thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it. It's fun.